What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I got two cameras up. What? 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 So many places to look. So many places to look. I've also got a MacBook over here, so I can get really distracted. No, but what is this? This is the stand up and sprint planning. So this, what is this? This is something that I have also always kind of used as a thing to keep progressing, uh, incrementally improve. If you've ever worked in a tech company before, you'll know there's a planning session once a week or once every 2 weeks, where everybody goes into the room and they talk about what they did last week or last sprint, what they're going to do this sprint, what blockers they encountered, what do they need help with, what did they learn, what were their successes, what were their failures, this kind of conversation. To give the whole team the full scope of how far that product has moved in that last sprint. This creates accountability inside the team, right? Because everybody has to sit there in front of everybody who they probably respect and who they want, the respect of or from. And they say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And you go into the week knowing that you're going to get this done. And that if you have any problems, you have people who have context to help you solve those problems as quickly as possible. And if they don't help you solve them throughout the week, you have that opportunity at the beginning of the next cycle to say, hey, this really blocked me and it's keeping me from doing X, Y, Z. So that is kind of the first tier of the community. It's not something that I will probably run all the time. I'm just kind of doing it for now. It's something that I will participate in with either the founders that I'm working with, because I as a fractional on that founders council have a duty to, keep up with the ongoings of the product. And so I'll be doing that with all founders. Ultimately, as a founder and with a couple councils of fractionals, I'll have to do the same. And so what does that look like? What does that look like? Let's say so I have two products right now as a founder. I might not actually get fired from fractional right now because it might be a lot of work to build Red Studio and two products. Well, hopefully we get a little gang of fractionals together to help me execute on that. What does that look like? It depends on the acceleration. If I had two councils, what would be ideal with them? They would all have an hour per day to do something, preferably have something ready to go. I guess one-on-one time would be variable based on the timing, but let's say you have 8, 4 weeks, you could kind of spread it out to per week to keep them all kind of in a happy cadence. Or maybe you want to get them all at the beginning of the month. Maybe you spend a full day with your whole council on the 1st, for example. So the efforts can change as you guys are as preferred. Like people work differently, and I think that going forward, the easiest way to make work and life coexist, you know, in a new way, or in an evolved way, I'll say. Because I think if we're wise and we think about how we like to work, we should be able to decide how much we work, how often we work, where we work, when we work, who we work with, you know. And I think that this is what this is. Um, so excuse me, let me have a little sip. I've reached out to a friend of mine from London, uh, who I met in the Royal community. She's a researcher at one of the universities in London, and they're doing a future of remote work, distributed work study. And so I'm going to be talking to her this week, trying to get maybe a grant, maybe some support from the university, maybe a sticker on our idea that that it's supported by academia, which I think would be a great step forward. Um, and it will also give me kind of an excuse to do the launch as a kind of study. Um, if we, it's basically week one of Q3. We have two Qs. I got two products, and it's definitely a, a, a working hypothesis that we have right now. You know, it's really easy for people to look at what's going on here and be like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Or this guy really sucks at making communities. And I know that that's what most people would do, and and I get it that that's what most people think is going on. But it's really much more involved than that. And I've been somebody who has thought about products for a long time, and my instinct when the walls come down for the effort required to create those products um, goes down to basically how much can you spend today. Uh, really opens up a door to reaching for the moon. And people are I remember when I first started talking about this, and people told me, because I had a couple products, I got products at quite, and there was a little bit of ego in that because I had left my last company after having basically launched three businesses, um, from a tech and product standpoint by myself, and ultimately growing a team. We built a team up to 55 people. Um, shoot. Um, right. Aiming bigger, thinking bigger. I've been developing products for a long time. Since 2009, I joined my first product company, and I really realized the difference between a project and a product. I had only built projects up until then, um, and thankfully, it wasn't me who was responsible on closing the loop and making sales, because yeah, I wasn't necessarily introverted, but I wasn't about to go out and make a $10,000 sale for anyone. Um, and yeah, I could focus on just making the product something that's valuable and delivers the end-to-end experience flawlessly. And most of my things were quite out of the box. uh, I did a wayfinding piece that built into like a screen flow utility that allowed large institutions to create a um, an experience from a kiosk that's custom and branded to those institutions, and also dynamic and flexible enough so that those institutions, in the event of an emergency or a quick policy change, they can quickly change the flow to accommodate that. So in the event of like something like COVID or whatever, they could quickly like add a few screens at the beginning to like say, hey, you know, you got to do XYZ. Okay to accept, and cancel to cancel and leave. Um, and uh, those products actually were some of the first things that I built that had something meaningful behind them. You can build a little bit of pride in what you're doing. And since then, I've been building products um, consistently. Um, I did remote year. I launched a few little products with different people. Some of them having gone on to becoming bigger things. So very cool. Um, and I got kind of to the top of the ladder with Aveto, the last product company, because you're only as strong as the weakest player on the team. And it took me a while to realize that for myself. It's a tough lesson. And as much as I had invested my life or myself into that product, the being with a team of people who aren't ready to work as hard as you are, uh, or build a team as ethically, I guess, morally as you are, you're definitely not gonna be successful. And when it came to thinking bigger, I realized that that part of development or product, the product journey, uh, has the most opportunity for improvement. So I'm approaching Studio OS kind of as a thing that I would have built or I've wanted to build for a long time. But that's always been kind of an impossible reality unless you have infinite money. And honestly, I it took me until last year to just like realize what this thing was. So as I go forward and I meet people who I want to work with or I'm open to working with, I'll invite them in here and invite them to become founders if they're on that journey. Because you can sign up as a founder, but you're not going to be public until you have checked all the boxes through kind of a due diligence kind of process. You as a fractional, again, you're not going to be public until you get through the due diligence. There's kind of a level and rank and scoring mechanism, and if you can't get past the first few ranks, then uh, you can't really ever join a council. You can't join. You can't form a council. You can't do roundtables. Uh, I will probably make the cadence machine and the effort engines something that people can use if they are at least in the Scrum tier, because it's aligned with that accountability and effort tracking. I'll probably make it such that founders can track other things in there as well, like these events, for example. I would like to have them at least in mine. Eventually, I'll have these videos being done inside of the system as well using Jitsi, which is an open source conferencing tool. And yeah, school will become just a spot for fractionals to become better fractionals and to kind of have a platform for being fractionals and maybe marketing themselves to other founders. Founders, of course, can ask fractionals questions without necessarily having to pay big bucks for their time. The information is free. We're opening the gates. We're just trying to get good founders, good fractionals, good CEOs and CXOs who want to be fractionals, good developers, and high achieving people who want to build an idea out into a product company so that they can live out the life of their dreams. That's what this is about. That's who this is for. And if that's you, then click the link below, etc., etc. I know I'm gonna have to start saying things like that, and I actually absolutely lament it. But I know that I am gonna help those people, and so ego be damned, because I know that if you show up for something every day, it becomes something more. And yeah, let's see what we're doing here. Oh man, well, we have this OS think tank. So this is the paper that I was talking about. Let me share my screen. Let me share think tank. Just a little bit on how serious I'm being. A cybernetic operating model for remote and distributed adventure work. Remote and distributed work has moved beyond a location policy. It has become an operating design rule. Teams now need to coordinate across time zones, employment types, tools, attention patterns, and shifting market signals without relying on the physical office as a default coordination surface. This white paper proposes a cybernetic operating model for remote and distributed venture work, using a viable system model as its organizing logic. The model treats founder-led companies, fractional leaders, executors, concept systems, and distributed contributors as a recursive work system. Each product or venture must perform operations, coordination, governance, verification, adaptation, and identity alignment in order to remain viable. This proposed model is embodied in Studio OS, a remote-first operating system that organizes distributed work through monthly sprints, cadence templates, efforts, outputs, feedback, contribution memory, and VSM signals, VSM being the viable system model. It does not track hours as its primary measure of work. It tracks visible contribution and evidence of what changed. Everything's there's an artifact for everything we do, and if you show up for something every day, there's evidence of that. And that's what this is going to track as part of an understanding of how effective a person is and how much value they've delivered across, either everybody inside of their vertical or everybody on their team or, uh, everybody inside of whatever kind of grouping that you want to look at it against. Here we go. This directly aligns with the remote distributed research initiatives call for research that is both academically rigorous and practically grounded with insights useful to workers, employees, and policymakers navigating remote and distributed work. The initiative specifically invites work on management practices, organizational design, performance measurement, technology, coordination, frictions, virtual coordination, and leadership practices in distributed teams. And oh man, we have so many goodies over here. So many goodies. I'll just quickly. Oh, give me a little bit more organized than that. So I don't think I don't know if, I don't want to just wing it, show you guys what's up in there. But I do invite you guys to sign up. Right now, the customer journey is weak. If you've been paying attention, we're using Click Studio to champion the customer journey. That's the whole point of Click Studio, is to champion the customer journey. And so, there are some pieces inside of Studio OS that are a little rugged. As far as the emails are concerned, I'd like to have a welcome email there, or when you confirm your email from Supabase, it should be branded like the product. Uh, be a little bit more welcoming, probably. I believe it just uses like some Supabase authentication, which is like awesome because it's super easy to integrate. But at the end of the day, it's like it does look scammy. And yeah, I mean, part of it is it's not everybody is cut out for building companies at this level, and if you can't take a little bit of rawness there, then then you might not be able to keep up around here. So it's about building trust and relationships, and we're doing that one person at a time. But yeah, I do hope that by the end of July, we have a little laundry list of CTOs, CPOs, CMOs from each vertical that are going to kind of step up to help us prove this theory. And I will keep you guys posted about the research angle. Did it? Oh, I think I closed it. My think tank. Honestly, there's so many goodies in there. I could entertain you guys forever. What was that one? Based efforts, right? So I wish I could bookmark these things. Let's see. It's like upgrading. Okay, right. This is cool too. This is cool too. Let me share this with you. Just the purpose part. Just the purpose part. Okay. Okay, I believe you. Up in the line. Rock your body into it. This is mostly about ASMR. So listen to the sound of my voice. So, sorry about that. We'll do it anyway. So what do we got here? What do we got? It's one of my chats. That's weird. There's always like that. Weird. Why are you being weird, bro? So, here we go. Studio OS monthly operating rhythm domain model. Build an operating rhythm domain for Studio OS. The domain allows the director to create, import, configure, assign, and activate monthly cadences for any Studio OS user or relationship. So I can go directly with the founder, with a fractional, with an executor, or the founder and fractional relationship can issue a cadence. Fractional and executor can issue a cadence. A founder and director can issue a cadence. An executor and a reviewer can be anybody inside of that uh, kind of level. So the viable system model has levels, right? And they're recursive, and they kind of come back to do like a feedback loop, basically. And based on those feedback loops, ideas are taken forward or or demoted, promoted and demoted, I guess is a proper way to look at it. And then, so these are the direct relationships, and then the product council inside. When a founder joins the studio with a council, there's an equity collective that's put aside basically, and everybody works for their place in that uh, reserve, also. And so, yeah, that group of people is referred to as a council, and you can create a cadence with the council as well. Content waterfall, one of the feedback loops that there are is basically in the social, how much are you posting, how many views are you getting, what kind of engagement are you building. There's a level, one level, kind of maybe level 4 or 5. That one is like, how much content are you creating? When you become a many time founder, you really realize quickly enough that distribution is probably the most important thing. And so we build that into level 1 founders so that they can just quickly hurry up and be level 2 founders. The system does a lot of that for you, or it will. But what's important here is creating a cadence that you want to be consistent to, and then the tooling can help you achieve that constant as best it can as tooling. You as the individual have to champion some things and make sure that whatever it's about to post for you is actually something that represents you or your story or your brand or the post, or make sure that it's not making up truths about like your personal experience. Obviously that would be the worst, is to create a story about yourself that isn't true. But what it will do is it will help you build that group, that set of posts or content, for example, and it will have will be an assistant that understands you and your as a founder, and your business, your company as a brand, and it will help you create a founder-led brand. That's the ambition. That's what I'm going for, because that's what I am. And yeah, the purpose of the domain is to turn repeatable operating rhythms into a monthly sprint made of efforts. A director should be able to define a cadence once and instantiate it into a monthly sprint with the right people on the boards, calendar events, efforts, outputs, feedback loops, and VSM schemes. The VSM controller should be able to observe what's happening inside the sprint and recommend next actions for the founder, fractional, executive, or director. So yeah, the director has this oversight. It gets recommendations for all the other partners based on signals, and then I, as the director, can help uh, keep things going inside of those relationships. I will probably call it there, because was it next week? When is it? Oh, I think we have a weekly retro. Maybe I'll show on the retro on Friday. I'll show you guys where it's at. I'm having fun building it. It's kind of like it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool. I think other people are going to quickly try and get an agency chair, the director chair. Anybody who's got a team of people who they want to turn them into founders and potentially use their internal resources as leverage to launch 10 businesses all at once. This could be a solution or a way. Yes, those 10 people would require a council, which would require 80 fractionals. Do I have 80 fractionals? No. But I only need 8 to prove it works. So I'm going to look for 16. I have 2 products. I want 2 councils. It's a hypothetical situation experiment. It might be worth nothing, but it could also be worth $100,000 in 6 months or $1 million in 6 months. It really depends on the fractionals and whether or not they're willing to show up for what we're building. We have Click Studio. It's a go-to-market product. It's meant to replace all those tools that you use to make your surveys, to make your websites, to make your emails, your automations, your customer journeys, your funnels, all that stuff. Just imagine a little tool that you say, this is my product and these are my customers, and it will just go ahead and create a little customer journey for you. Uh, Consider your brand and start collecting names for you and giving you little widgets that you can put on your website that you can use easily without being a technical person. That's the ambition. If you go on radstudios.com, you can see it in practice. You can check out the contact page, and you can see the newsletter at the bottom of the page. That's also handled by Click Studio. It's a little bit rough, but it's a proof of concept, and nobody's used it yet. Get in there, gang. I've been promoting these surveys for a minute. Maybe people are like, oh, there's no terms and conditions. Well, yeah, guys, we're building this stuff from scratch. Send me a CLO fractional and we will add terms and conditions. I can put something fake in there for you guys. Is that what you guys want? I don't think anybody does. Anyways, I digress. If you've been listening, thank you so much. Appreciate you for putting up with me. But yeah, I digress. I hope you all have a great week. And on Friday, I will show you what we have conjured up from nothing.